very big cultural difference. So the government is subsidising those minimum wage earners. I can remember back when Bush was president, he made this speech at some stupid fucking bullshit thing that he was prattling on about how proud he was about this woman he met who had 2 or 3 jobs. And in my head, I was thinking, that's fucking ridiculous. That the fact that she needs 2 or 3 jobs to survive is the problem, not the fact that she's working her ass off to sustain an adequate living. It wouldn't be an issue if the big corporations were to actually pay their fair share of tax and pay a decent wage. Henry Ford was very right when he, back in the day, said that every one of his employees should be able to earn the right to buy one of their products.
Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like something that Bernie said, but back in the 70s and 80s, GM was the largest employer in North America, so between Canada and the U.S. They had very high wages. They, in the U.S., had medical insurance, they had dental, they had optical. In Canada, they had the optical and the dental insurance. Flash forward to today, the largest employer between U.S. and Canada is Walmart. They're non-unionized. They have no medical, they have no dental, they have no optical, and three quarters of them are part-time employees. And every single one of them earns minimum wage unless you're management. Right?
And they probably can't even afford to buy products. I've read articles where even Walmart employees can't afford to buy products from Walmart.
Of course they can. Even in Canada, if you are a single mother and you are working in Walmart and you have 2 children, you're still to pay rent and to put food on a table and to put school clothes on your children's back and books in their hands to go to school, you're still gaining a government subsidy. And by, in essence, gaining a government subsidy for an employee of a company that in all, realistic honesty between Canada and U.S. is making $240 billion in profit a year, we as a taxpayer are subsidizing their lives. So let's take all of that out of the picture. Let's take all of that nonsense out of the picture. Let's decide what the living standard is in Canada. Let's decide what the living standard is in the U.S. And let's give the people what they need. So just say it takes, in the U.S., it takes 5% of the GDP to give everybody a living standard wage. Let's look at Medicare and military health care and the other things. Because the system in the U.S. is set up so that the medicine is for profit, the very short distance that the government does pay, or the very small percentage of the healthcare in the U.S. that the government does pay for, it takes up 22% of their GDP. In Canada, 100% of the healthcare, including military, including welfare, and all those other things, is covered under the universal healthcare system. Only 10% of our GDP. So this has nothing to do with population. This is just strict GDP. 22% of your GDP for a half-assed, minimalized healthcare system is spent. 10% of a full-range healthcare universal system is spent in Canada. Get the universal system in the U.S. Drop it down to 10%. Even go like Sweden. Sweden is only 6% of their GDP because in Sweden, their healthcare system is very, very good, and they've got it down to a science. So drop it down from that 22%. Take 5 or 10% of that even, and give a living wage to your nation, give an education to your nation, and you will grow. How are you going to argue with the fact that if you have a country of educated people and you have a country of fed people, clothed people, and healthy people, that's not better for your society? You can't, there's not even an argument against it. You can't.
See, the problem, Dave, is that I watched on YouTube just this week, Paul gave it to me to watch. It was I think it was in Alabama, I might be wrong, but it was definitely one of the southern states, about people who are supporting Trump and why they're supporting Trump, despite the fact that none of the policies of Trump are going to make their lives better. When I watched this 5-minute clip, the majority, or every single one of the people speaking in the clip, said that they would rather starve than go against God's word.
God damn it, son of a bitch.
So this is what you're dealing with. So, we are all talking from a logical, fact-based, humanistic viewpoint where we can see that, right, this adds up to this, and then this is what they get, and everyone benefits from that. The problem is that they are, it's just, you cannot, it will take generations of education to educate that out, because they had the old school guys that are nearly dead saying the same shit as the grandchildren who are in their 20s saying the same shit. It's just, honestly, you just cannot believe the level of ignorance with regards to that. So they will vote specifically against that.
Yeah, but the argument that, the only argument that I see against what I am talking about is that they think that people are going to become lazy and that only a small percentage of the population is going to be paying for the rest. I can assure you, living in a country that is almost basically at that, like the only last step that we need to take to become what I would consider a fully healthy society, is that everybody has a free education and that there is the living wage. People do not become lazy. They don't. Like, it's not realistic to think that that's going to happen.
Yeah, but like I said, you're speaking from a normal quote-unquote person's perspective, whereas these people's specific... Look, if you look at the United States map and you look at all the red states, you will notice that they are the poorest states. Mm-hmm. Kansas went to election just not long ago. Kentucky went to election just not long ago, and they loved Obamacare, quote unquote, but they voted for a governor who wanted to get rid of it out of their state.
Yeah, nuts. So we'll go to the last commercial break of the evening.
Are you interested in honest and open perspective and discussion? Do you enjoy hearing people challenge the status quo, even if it means examining the bumps and bruises of the free thought community? Do the reverberations of the echo chamber make everything you hear sound trite and jaded? Are you ready for a show that dares to hold all people up to the light, to examine our biases and blind spots? Are you a humanist? Then the Q might be for you. Come check out the secular safe space for critical thought, cross-examination, and a caring ear, where it's humanism first, secularism always, and where I really don't give a shit if you're an atheist or not. Come join the conversation by searching for The Q on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever aggregator you use, but be warned, I've taken the padding off the sharp corners.
Okay, and that has been the Atheist Podcast for this week. As always, you can catch us on Facebook at EHTS. You can catch us on Twitter, and you can listen to us on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher at EHTS Podcast. I'm Dave.
I'm Chris, the Unknown Seaman.
I'm Sunwings.
I'm Big Black Gay Dave. I'm known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me under pretty much any social media that way. And as was mentioned earlier, you can probably find me under a whole bunch of free art sites under that name too. Second Life. The show that you'll find me on is Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. You can find that over on YouTube, as well as holycrapthevlogcast.com and Twitter, Facebook, etc. All the usual stuff. And as was suggested that I do on behalf of all of us tonight, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well.